Bרכhtani. You'll see a fascinating thing in Jewish history, and that is, after every major catastrophe and crisis, there was an unprecedented explosion of spiritual, intellectual, and physical growth. The whole Torah Shabbat that we have, Mishnayos, Gemara, Talmud Bavli, Talmud Yerushalmi, it all happened after the Churban Bayesheni. The Churban Bayesheni was colossal. Till the Holocaust, it was the greatest catastrophe to befall the Jewish people. Nobody thought they'll be able to survive it. Rabbi Akiva himself, the Gemara says, Kulu alibid Rabbi Akiva, the whole Torah Shabbat that we have is from Rabbi Akiva. Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Rabbi Akiva himself was murdered, executed by the Romans. And Dafka, that generation, Churban Bayesheni, it produced the explosion of all the Tanoim, which produced the Mishnah, which produced ultimately the Amirayim, the Gemara, Sai Bavli, Yerushalmi, all the Midrashim that we have, Mechilta, Sifri, Toras Kohanim, Medrash Rabbah, Medrash Tanchuma, Sifrei HaKabbalah, the Sefer Yetzirah, Sefer HaZoyah, Sefer HaBoyer. It was fascinating. The pricha, the blossoming of Torah Shabbal Peh happened in the aftermath of the Churban Bayesheni. Rabbi Yasher Ber Soloveitchik, I think I said this once touched the Gemara says in Menachos, Chavtes, that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe asked the Rebbeinu Shalom why he has to have those little tagim on the Sefer Torah. Mi ma'akev al yodcha, who needs these little lines, who understands them? You know what I mean, yeah? Shatnez gets those little zayins. Hashem says, there's going to be a Jew, Akiva ben Yosef, Asid lidrosh shall kol koitz v'koitz tilei tilim shel halachas. On every one of those koitzim, they look like little thorns. He's going to darshan mountains of halacha. So he said it wasn't just a statement about Rabbi Akiva darshaning tagim. Koitz means a thorn. Could have said I'll call tag v'tag. So Rabbi Akiva's approach was I'll call koitz v'koitz. Yeder dorn, every thorn that the Romans used to perforate the Jewish people, Rabbi Akiva said, we're going to use the koitz to build tilei tilim shel halachas, mountains of halach. Rabbi Akiva and his chavedim and his talmidim, they created the unprecedented explosion of Torah Shabbal Peh. When you learn, you think it was all done with serenity. They were sitting somewhere on an attic, Amachaya. Much of it was done with tremendous persecution and challenge. You read Rashi on Chumash, Rashi on Gemara, it looks like the guy doesn't have a bad day. He's having the most serene life. Rashi's on a hammock for 70 years, nobody bothers him, and he writes, schreibt. Rabbi Shal Yisrael. Rashi, across the street, the Crusades were happening. 1096, the first Crusades. The Crusades which destroyed Ashkenazic, so many communities in Ashkenaz, in the 11th century, 12th century, and it produced Rashi and his whole family, Bali HaTosfos, and a tremendous explosion of the whole Ashkenazic literature. And then you had the Spanish expulsion, was one of the worst churbanos. We can't even imagine what it did, in 1492. And the whole Toras HaArizal, the Zoya and the Ramak and the Arizal and the whole group of Tzvas, you had the Beis Yosef, the Mechaber and the Alshach and the Arizal, Maril Beirav, tremendous explosion of Toras HaNister in the aftermath of the Spanish expulsion. And then you had 1648-49, Tachtat, which decimated Polish Jewry, one of the worst gzeiros. Today, with the Holocaust, everything was forgotten. The First World War, but these were unprecedented catastrophes. And then the Shabsi Tzvi debacle, he converts to Islam. Much of Europe thought he was really Mashiach. And there was also a tremendous low. And then came the explosion of the Baal Shem Tov, the revelation of Teres Baal Shem Tov, of Chassidus, and the whole binyan of Olam HaYeshivas, the world of the Yeshivas, and in Lithuania and other parts of Eastern Europe. And then in our generation came the greatest churban of all, the greatest koitz, the greatest thorn. But after that, the rejuvenation of the Jewish people, both in Eretz Yisrael, the rebuilding in Eretz Yisrael, and everywhere, in all the communities, was something extraordinary, something powerful. This is an approach, it's an attitude. It's not stam, a coincidence. The rebuilding of Klal Yisrael in the whole world after the Holocaust, in the world of Torah, the world of mitzvahs, avodas Hashem, yeshivas, Torah, and Eretz Yisrael and so forth, this was all the attitude of Lo Yashalecha Ki Berachtani. I'm going to access the Ma'oid. It doesn't give explanation to tragedy. Explanations for tragedies are usually futile to understand how exactly what and how and what. Huh? But it gives perspective, not why, but how. How to deal with it.
The question that came up last week,
yeah.
You answered for Holocaust survivors. This is the answer. This might be.
I wouldn't call it an answer, to be honest with you. I would call it a response. Rabbi Akiva did not answer why every thorn had to perforate his body or so many other bodies. He didn't know why. What he did know was what. What? Tilei tilim shalalachas. I once heard from Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, the former chief rabbi of Israel. And he was once by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked him, what are Yidden saying? It was after the Yom Kippur War. What are Yidden saying in Eretz Yisrael? What's the mood in Eretz Yisrael? So as a good Jew, he tells the Rebbe, Yidden sagen, was wird sein? Was wird sein, yeah? Ma'iyeh. Jews are saying, what's going to be? So he said, the Rebbe told him, by Jews, we never say what's going to be. We say, what are we going to do about it? It's a very big difference. The Gemara says, V'hoya and Vayihi. Vayihi and V'hoya. V'hoya is Lashon Simcha. Vayihi is Lashon Sar. Vayihi is it came to pass. It came to pass. Proactive. Not what's going to be. What's going to be, it's so bad. What are we going to do about it? Lo yashalechacha ki berachtani. What is it miyusadon? It's miyusadon that in every crisis lay seeds of opportunity. Now, not many people see it this way. That's why he says you need tzaddikim for this. Why? Because many people, we naturally gravitate to the spirit, to Yiyush. But the Rishon said, Yiyush is shaloi midas. If it's Yiyush, there's no das. That's how we touch the Gemara. Yiyush is shaloi midas. Whether you hold like Abaya or you hold like Rava, no difference. But if it's Yiyush, there's no das. If there's das, there's no Yiyush. The Gemara in Yerushalmi says, why did they make Atachan Antonu in Atachan Eladam Das? Havdalah, Hamavdal Mekadosh L'chel, we say in Atachoinen, right? You ever thought about it? You take it for granted. Tefillah has a serious structure. Why is Atachin Antonu and Atachoinen? Why not in Hashivenu? Slach Lanu. So the Yerushalmi says in Brachis, in Ein Das, Havdalah Minayim. Without Das, there's no Havdalah. That's a very profound statement. In Ein Das, Havdalah Minayim. What's Havdalah? Havdalah is this Havdalah, to be able to separate. To be able to separate and to be able to trace back, not to see the outer shell of the Ra, to be able to separate the core from the shaft, what we call birur, to be able to take out the pnimiyas from the chitzonius, to be able to look at the zoyna and say, I'm not going to fall prey to the outer facade. I'm going to see the real pnimis, what is really going on. What is really going on here is I'm getting an opportunity to be able to become the person I'm supposed to become. Is the